Welcome, dear friends, to the Taviren, a Wheel of Time podcast hosted by three gentlemen for whom the very wheel itself bends around. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Bill, Rob, and Rich.
Hello, dear friends and listeners and other, bipedal beings. Welcome to another episode of the Talvrien podcast, where me, Rich, and Rob sometimes all do an episode together. So can I get a roll call, please? Rob?
Hello, this is Rob. How is everybody out there in podcast land?
I'm sure they're all very happy and delighted. Rich, you here?
I am here
Yeah.
early in the morning.
Two in a row.
2 in a row, guys. That's amazing.
Oh.
This is becoming a habit.
It's early for me too, Rich.
Yeah.
We can make it.
And you get next week off, Rob,
I do.
as per the rules of the Talvrien.
Yeah.
Each one gets a book off at some point.
Do 10 episodes, get one off.
Yep. That's all you get.
I'll take it.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Tarvrien podcast, a podcast where me, myself, Rob and Rich, me, myself, Rob and I,
All four of us.
all 10 of us, we're slowly and surely working our way through the Wheel of Time books. And as you can tell, we're kind of near the beginning because we're only on chapter 9 of the Eye of the World, the first book. So today's episode is all about chapter 9, which is called Tellings of the Wheel. But I think Rob, you've got a few reviews you want to read out to.
Oh, we do have one new iTunes review that just popped by a gentleman by the name of Billy Rigby. It's called "This is a Biased Review."
Wait, is that Gmail?
It may be. Let's find out. So it's a 5-star review. It says, "Hi, I like this podcast and enjoy the quiet Discord server. Yeah, wah wah. I also like how Bill is reading my blurbs on this podcast. Hence my bias. LOL. Starting episode 8, everyone. I love this. I love this podcast. Discussing a book I love chapter by chapter and a lot of fun back and forth BS in between. Just some friends sitting around the book clubbing it out. And to be honest, I love readings with Rich." All right. Gmote out.
Yeah, Gmo.
So as I mentioned to him in the Discord, I may have to rethink his Asha Man status. We might have to seriously reconsider.
Readings with Rich. I like readings with Rich. Has a ring to it.
I do love readings with Rich.
What? I was like, wait a minute, do I do those? I was reading that. I'm reading that right now, actually. I saying that I'm his favorite host.
I thought you guys were just the same. I thought you were the same person. I thought you were just like split personalities in my head.
Probably. I am crazy.
Only because I make you crazy, Rich.
Love you, Gmote, but you misspelled Rob. Just saying.
Well, I think that's a lovely review. Thank you very much.
It is. No, thank you very much, Gmote.
I still think it means he likes me more. Whatever.
Okay. As long as he keeps giving us those awesome chapter blurbs, he can call me whatever he wants.
Yeah.
One other quick note I wanted to make. Just going over some of our podcast numbers, and as always, they are just above and beyond expectations. And thanks to everybody for listening and being part of the community. But I've noticed a little bit of a trend that after the chapter 1, so the pilot and chapter 1 after then, our numbers drop off a little bit. And I wholly admit that the audio for those first 2 episodes from me was absolute crap. I sounded like I was in a wind tunnel. As I mentioned before, did one of those episodes from my iPhone. So yeah, and it seems like, of course, the drop off happens when we start to get things straightened out. So long story short, if you guys know of anybody who gave us a listen and maybe stopped after the first 2 episodes, better.
I will say,
go ahead.
I will say, Rob, just from my, I do see what you're saying, because obviously our first couple of episodes have got really big views. You'll find that they will slowly pick up the episodes in between, but also our more current episodes, so like 6, 7, 8, they've all got a lot more figures than the ones in the middle, like say 3, 4, and 5.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people have picked us up now, and they're kind of like they maybe listened back to a few episodes and think, oh, do you know what? I don't need to listen to the one where Rand walks through the woods, which we all agreed was a terribly short episode with not a lot of content. So things will pick up, but I'm very I'm so pleased with the episodes as we release them. The figures for those are well beyond my expectations. So
I agree
I'm
too.
amazed
Yes.
by the love. Absolutely amazed by the love that we've got for this so far.
So,
but yeah,
thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, thanks again. Yeah. So, readings with Rich. This should be
Rich, you're on. Go.
Okay. Some stuff happened.
No, I want to talk readings with Rob because I'm loving Jamaican Lan.
Oh my God! How did you get Jamaica? I was going for Irish.
Yeah, man.
Really, not. You missed the place.
Yeah, sheep had
I'm 4,000 miles away. I aimed for Ireland and I got Jamaica.
Now, I will point out because when I edit the episodes, I didn't actually notice that he had a Jamaican accent.
He doesn't.
It was only when I was listening back to it, and like I listen to my podcasts on 1.25 speed, so I always have them a little bit speed up. And yeah, on the speed up, oh my God, he just sounds Jamaican. It's brilliant. Like, occasionally it flicks into like this sort of Scottish Irish accent, but man, it was. I was just dying with laughter listening to the last two episodes.
I was trying to. My thought was to talk slowly with Lan. So maybe at 1.25 it's a normal cadence. So maybe it is the 1.25. But you when you told me I love Jamaican Lan, I'm like, what?
Jamaican Lan's awesome. He's so good. But yeah, Jamaican Lan, so good. Yeah, so everybody, when you get to the readings with Rob sections, make sure you turn up the speed of your podcasts to 125, and you will have the funniest 5 minutes of your life.
Spoiler warning, I think Lan is in the next couple of chapters.
I think he's in the next couple of chapters a lot.
Of readings, but yeah.
So I think other than that, we're going to move on to the news, which is still just everyone's just gushing over Rosamund.
Yes. It's
Rosamund Sedai.
Amazing. Yeah, Rosamund Sedai. Hashtag Rosamund Sedai.
Blue Jar.
Yes.
Blue Jar.
And it's funny because, I know things are known to break the internet or blow Twitter up, but this is the first time I've been closely related to just actually seeing that happen. I don't know how many pictures of Rosamund Pike reading The Eye of the World is in my feed right now, but it's a lot. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. One other thing I noticed on Twitter, and I'm going to pose this question to you guys. When the TV show does drop, it sounds like Amazon's going to do it Netflix style, the whole season at once. You guys planning to binge or savor weekly?
I'm going to binge the shit out of it.
Yeah?
And that's because I once I get stuck to a TV show, I'm there. Like Stranger Things. That's coming out July 4th.
Yes, I'm going to be on vacation, unfortunately, so I have to catch up after I get back. But yes.
And I think like that's the way it is nowadays. People don't want their episodes to come out like weekly like they used to. They'll binge all that. So that's why they do that now.
No. What about you, Bill?
I'm probably not going to watch it.
No, not interested.
Nah,
Let's be honest, they don't get it over there. Probably.
I don't want it to ruin the books. No, of course I'm going to watch it. I never really got that deep into Game of Thrones. So, but I do like to binge watch stuff. But since having a kid, like I just don't watch a lot of TV. So I'll just catch it when I can, really.
Well, I know that somewhere down the road, if we ever decide to use other websites to promote our podcast, there may be a tier in said website where we review the TV shows one at a time as well. So maybe a Savor Weekly approach would help us in that regard. Just saying, no spoilers.
sounds very spoiler-like. I mean, there's lots of extra bonus content I want to get going for this podcast. There's so much stuff I want to do. But yeah, it's exciting times. But I'm just really pleased that stuff's actually taking off with the TV show. I am very much looking forward to that, and I think it's going to be awesome. And yeah, I do have Amazon Prime, so I will be watching one.
I think I know someone with Amazon Prime, so I can borrow their access.
Oh man, just pay the Amazon Prime. It's worth it.
Just
the
give
same.
them access to your life. Just do it.
I have Netflix. I got this. I got that. I got.
Yeah, but eventually Netflix is going to be obsolete anyway. So. Well, I'm serious. I know this is going to go off tangent like we normally do, but they announced that The Office is finally leaving Netflix in 2021.
Well,
that's just a nail in their coffin.
The show that we watch, and I'm going to take all the hate. Friends is the show that my wife and I.
I love that show.
Yeah, we love that show, man.
Oh,
Friends is the best.
And that's leaving too.
When is that supposed to leave?
Next year.
Because literally, we've watched every episode in a row 4 times in a row. That's no joke. Over the last year and a half, it's like the chill, put your friends on, watch a few episodes, and then go to bed.
Yeah, you didn't know that show's leaving too?
We heard rumors about it, but I didn't know if that was actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's leaving.
Yes, that and Office would be doomed.
Yeah.
How about
not the good doom that Rosamund Pike started, like just doom.
So, Rich, how about a Friends Minute podcast?
I could do that right now without even watching the shows. I got it all memorized by now.
Should we do a Friends podcast where we review it minute by minute?
I'll be there for you.
Right, let's analyze that line.
Okay.
Right. Anyway.
Moving on
from the Friend VN podcast. Friend VN.
Friend VN. There we go.
Friend VN. And we've had our Wheel of Time news. So, what else we got going?
We can jump right into the discussion if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, as always for our news, although we haven't really had any news, thanks to Nog, the Daily Trolloc.
Oh yeah, Nog
my favourite
and
red line
hashtag
paper.
Twitter of time. Yes.
Yep. Hashtag Tweak of Time, all that sort of stuff. But yes, Chapter 9, guys. Tellings of the Wheel. Now, not to pretend or undermine this at all, I'm so excited about this chapter.
It's a good chapter.
Balls out excited. This is great.
Especially the second half of it.
Yeah, it's just so good. Oh man, right. So we start off and Rand is asleep. Rand is dreaming, but his dreams aren't particularly nice dreams. Someone's making him have bad dreams. He's dreaming that he's being chased by a band of Trollocs across a broken mountain, and then he comes to an even bigger mountain, which is even more broken. And he can feel the mountain's fingers pulling at him.
Calls out to him almost.
Yeah, I just love the descriptive work that Jordan's using in this. It's so good.
I love the irony. I love the irony that the very first night after Moiraine saying, "Having trouble with your dreams?" and be like, "What? No, of course not." The very next night, he has this nightmare.
It's so funny because having listened back to this chapter now, because I've beasted my way through the book now, Rob. I'm on chapter 42.
Oh my god!
I know 42 or 48, somewhere like that. Right, I'm getting right towards the end of the book now.
It's enough so you can forget everything again.
And it's just like when you hear that bit from the last chapter where she's just like having bad dreams, Rand, and you're like, oh my god, there's so much stuff. It's just like piles out my brain. Just like he
just doesn't know it yet.
He's having some rat shit dreams. Yes, and he screams at the mountain, going, "Damn you, Shaitan!" He names the Dark One. Yeah.
Does it count in a dream? Does that count?
Well, he wonders that when he wakes up, actually. But yes, and then a figure in a blood-red cloak appears. Rand screams and then jumps off the mountain, which then sends him to his second part of the dream, where he sees a different mountain, one standing by itself, but this time intact and not broken. So, no, I'm not. We've had so many people ask us about spoilers. I'm not giving out spoilers to what this stuff is, because I've got a theory on who the man in the red cloak is as well. Oh. So you'll have to get on the Discord to find that stuff out, because we will talk spoilers on the Discord. But yes,
links below.
I don't think it's the Dark One, or the Owlsamod, or whatever it's called. But yes, so instead he now wakes up and he sees a new mountain, which is nothing special, just a mountain.
Just not calling out to him, not evil menacing fingers pulling at just a hunk of stone.
It's just a mountain. He kind of feels like a moment of calm and stuff, and he can see a white towered city in the distance. He then starts to feel the tingle on the back of his neck of someone chasing him, and he runs and the tower, trying to get to the White City, but he can't quite reach it. And then eventually he does reach it, just out of nowhere, as you do in dreams.
One note I have on here is that as he's approaching this tower, all the people that seem to be in the surrounding areas as he walks by seems to be encouraging him. Yes, you're going in the right direction. Yes, of course, yes. And at one point, he realizes this is maybe a little too easy. So for a small bit, he turns around and thinks about not going. And the crowd around him immediately kind of turns on, no. You want to go this way, towards the pretty tower.
Yes,
and then,
he's twisting and turning through the streets.
Rand decides to go back, and then everybody's back on board. Yes, so we're so happy with you. Go towards the White Tower.
Yes, because every time when he's walking away from the White Tower, every twist and turn that he takes, the tower's always there in front of him.
Yes.
He can't escape the tower.
Right.
Just love this, so good. And yeah, like you say, everyone's so joyous as he starts to decide to move towards the tower. People are singing in joy and happiness, and the music starts up, and girls start dancing around him, and he gets happier and happier. Then he starts thinking, who is this girl I'm walking with? I'm dancing with. I can't remember her name. He feels light as a feather on his feet, and as he walks up to the tower, the people stop behind him but continue to cheer him on, and he hears a voice that says, "It's your destiny."
That was pretty good.
He gasps at the tower and its beauty, and then he hears the voice again, "Your destiny." And then as he enters the tower, the doors shut behind him with a bang. And well, no, not quite. Because then a voice says to him, "We've been waiting for you," says the murderer.
Dun, dun, dun.
So yes, it's indicating to Rand that if he goes to the White Tower, that's exactly where the Dark One wants him to go. But he wakes up and he finds some food's been left to him by Mistress Alvia, who
She's so kind.
in her loving way, it's hot. So she must have come in and changed it 3 or 4 times while he was asleep to make sure that when he woke up, he had some hot broth with some meat and cheese. Who doesn't like a bit of meat and cheese in the morning?
Rich, you?
I love meat and cheese in the morning.
So what did you guys think of the dream sequence? Because that's kind of like the first section of the chapter.
I think it's puberty.
But
this is a puberty dream, obviously.
A puberty dream. I thought you said puberty. I was like, what?
Yeah. He could be a late bloomer. That's what happens.
Wasn't he?
He's finally getting to be a man, and then the demons are chasing him as his manhood. It's like, we've been waiting for you to be finally a man. Sorry, I thought that was kind of funny. I read that. I was like, that'd be kind of funny to talk about.
Thank you, Dr. Freud.
Yes. That's definitely not the dreams I was having when I was 17.
Let's be honest, Bill. You haven't been a man yet.
Well, I'm into my
the one thing that I took, at least from the second part of the dream, is the general sense of the White Tower being where they want you to go, and that everybody says go here. Is that really how it is, or is that how, quote unquote, the bad guys want Rand to see it? That was one of my kind of takeaways, because there's 2 different perspectives you could take that from. And once he finally sees that, he's been trapped by the murderer in the White Tower, and it's like, whoa.
So
whoops.
So again, I kind of feel like I don't feel like this is like some of the dreams that we get later on in the books. I feel like this is actually just Rand dreaming. The way the dreams happen and take place, they're very different to a lot of the dreams that happen later on. So I feel like this literally is just Rand dreaming.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like that.
I think when you see some of the dreams that are coming up in the later chapters, you'll see the difference. Going back and listening to this compared to some of the stuff that I've just been listening to, it is very much a different feel to this dream.
I kind of get what you're saying, but some of the things he sees or places he sees are exactly how they are in the real world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could be somebody messing with him, like starting out Like he's not touched yet by the Mordral. Hasn't been around the Aes Sedai enough yet. I think it's him slowly getting the influence of those two forces trying to mess with him.
Tugging at him. Tug of war.
Right.
Basically, that's what I'm thinking.
How do I say this without spoilers? So,
Rich, earmuffs.
you've got.
I already read the first book. I know what happens.
No, I'm talking much later. So,
Oh, well, don't do that.
So Rob, right? just so you know what I'm thinking of, right? There's a man in a red cape, in the first part of the dream. He shouts at the mountain, and he shouts at the broken mountain, saying, "Damn you, Shaitan." And then he sees the other mountain, which is very important to these books later on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got fears of the White Tower and being trapped within. Now, what do you know about Rand in the later books and certain people trying to get into his head?
He doesn't like that.
Yes. And who was in the prologue that maybe wanting to influence Rand?
Give me a check my notes.
No, don't check it out.
One of the bad guys.
Right, guys. There we go, guys. So I just told you my theory. What do you think? You're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about?
But how could they have warp drive capabilities at this age?
Well, they had the flux. Matt built the flux capacitor when he threw the white powder on the dogs. So I think there's another force here at work with Rand's dreams, but we'll move on from that for now, because again, we don't want any spoilers in here.
Tam's awake.
Yeah, Tam's awake, and he was waiting for Rand to wake up.
Yeah.
And Tam actually thinks that at first he's kind of thinks the attack from the Trollocs was a dream. And then he's just like, oh no, it wasn't a dream, was it? When he sees the sword at Rand's hilt. The Heron Mark blade.
Tam does agree with the severity of the situation and the necessity for the boys to leave town to avoid more attacks in Emmonsfield as soon as possible. So when Rand is explaining to him, listen, we got to go, and it's going to be tonight. Tam is very understanding of it. Is like he's going to hear that he's probably not going to see his son for a long time, if at all. And his reaction was like, "Yes, tonight is best. I get it. Got to be done." Once again, Tam, bound by honor and bound by duty. I love that. I love that guy.
Tam's a legend, because there's a few little things in this conversation before Lan interrupts them to take Rand away, and he quickly gives Tam a hug and then leaves. But some of the little plot points that Robert Jordan squeezes in here, and this is why he's so good at this stuff, because this is such a short little bit of the book that he squeezes so much in. So first of all, Rand avoids asking Tam about the question of his birth, which he's now questioning.
He dodges that very, very deftly.
Yeah, he decides not to ask him. Tam then says, "You need to be careful with Aes Sedai."
Yep.
And also Tam, like I said, he agrees that the boys should go to Tar Valon. But he says to Rand, you got to be careful with Aes Sedai. He says, "Listen sharp, think deep, and guard your tongue." Because an Aes Sedai truth is maybe not the truth you think it is. He gives all these little things, and then he's not comfortable about Rand being with the Aes Sedai, but he also says, and I love this line, "There's no point in putting a broken egg back in its shell." It's like that's a great line. It's like, well,
that is a good line.
This stuff's gone to pot. You might as well just roll with it. And he also gives a bit of deposition on the warder bond, because he says, anything you tell Land, you might as well just told Moraine. And he says, with the warder bonds, that gives them extra strength and stamina, and some people think there's some extra magic involved with it as well. So there's a lot of world building in such a small chapter that he gives out there. Just like, Aes Sedai are tricky folk. They won't lie to you, but then they won't always tell you the truth.
the line about the truth that you hear is not the truth that you think. That's a running gag, I guess, when people talk about Aes Sedai.
That will come up a lot.
They don't lie, but they might tell you the truth. And it's like, what? Oh, yeah. They were
Yeah,
good
but-
with the words.
But our good Jamaican friend turns up
Yes.
to hurry round out the room because there's some trouble going on downstairs. He's like, come on, don't you
Yep.
understand the word trouble? Let's get moving.
Trouble brewing outside.
He meets up with Matt in the hallway, who's got his bow strapped over his shoulder, and they go down to the village inn door, where Lan creaks it open a bit more so that they can see out and see what's unfolding in front of the Wine Spring Inn, because all of the Emmon Fielders have gathered together to basically chase Moraine out of the town because they're blaming
pitchforks.
Yep, they're blaming her for the Trolloc attacks. Leave Emmons Field, they shout. It's your fault, they shout. And Sen Bui seems to be leading the complaining, despite looking very uncomfortable at talking to an Aes Sedai.
Well, I love the one line. They're very vocal, but only as part of a group. Individually, not a chance would any of this have happened.
Yeah,
but
and
the mob mentality whips everybody up into a frenzy.
Yeah, the mob mentality is strong. So one of the Congers, Ari, shouts out, "Get out, or we'll burn you out." And then this sets off two of the leaders of the Emmonsfield, Bran Alvier and Master Luhan. And Bran says, "Did someone suggest burning my inn or harming my guests?" And everyone's like, "Oh, well, no, really." And then I love the fact that literally while someone's like, making excuses about having a go at the Aes Sedai, Master Luhan, the blacksmith, Perrin's, master, the guy who's Perrin's apprentice to, he just flexes his muscles and he just flexes his ribs and his muscles, and then everyone goes quiet, great. And he goes, "Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you." It's just like
that has to make it into the TV show. That bit must make it.
Yeah, the whole town is just petrified of this one guy.
I can't his muscles.
I just can't fathom in my head how big this guy is. Mars, I reckon he should be played by The Rock.
That should be that. There you go.
Just
pay him a couple million, have him walk around a hammer, flex his muscles, and we're good. Thanks, Rock.
Don't let me flexing interrupt you. But anyway, this eventually they all start. Master Bran Alvier, the innkeeper, Egwene's dad, he starts shaming the village, talking about how Moraine healed you and fixed your arm and fixed your leg and mended that wound on your back so you can still walk today. How dare you all insult her like this? And Sen Bui says, "Yeah, I know, but we can't have an Aes Sedai here. It's just not right." And so as they start to build up discontent again, Moraine starts twirling her staff around her head, and white burning flame comes out of either end of the staff. And this is the bit.
It starts.
This is where it begins.
History lesson is about to begin.
It is. This is the first telling of the wheel. Stories from the Wheel of Time.
The old blood of the Manetheren.
Yes, is this, as she screams at him and says, well, not screams at him, but she proclaims, "Is this what Aemon's blood has come to from the power of Mount Ephron?" And she gives her big speech. So, oh God, I struggled with my notes on this one and how to sum this up.
I didn't even try. I couldn't. And I'll admit, I did not go with this part for reads with Rob. I couldn't do it. It would be too much.
All right, well, I've got some notes. I'm going to briefly go over this, but if you're reading along with us, just reread it. It's just amazing. In fact, if you've already read it, you'll know what we're talking about.
Bill, you have the calm. Go, sir.
So it's about King Aemond and his queen Eldraine, who apparently flowers would bloom for her in sight of her beauty, that she was so beautiful. He was a powerful king, and she was a powerful Aes Sedai, and they ruled Mount Ephron, which was the mountain city, which was located in the Mountains of Mist, so part of the Two Rivers, or what is now known as the Two Rivers. And it was they flew. Their armies were a thorn in the Dark One's side, and they flew under the banner of the Red Eagle. Now, the army was far from home when they found out that their homeland was under attack from a huge horde of Trollocs, and it was actually Beelzemon's army. And so I think this is the first reference to Beelzemon that we get as well.
Okay.
I'm not 100% on that one, but it feels like the first one. But yeah, he led a huge Trolloc army against the Mount Ephron. And this is actually just a comparison. This is basically the story of the 300. I don't know if you've seen that film.
Yeah, I did draw. Yeah, I have. It's been a while, but yeah, I did draw a comparison.
That's yeah, I
The
love
many against a few.
yeah, I love that era of Greek mythology. But they basically the army marched back, and Moraine even explains that the story of the march itself could fill pages of a history book. But they managed to somehow make it just in time before the army. But there was so big a Trolloc army that they had to hold. They were told to hold the Tarandale. They were told to hold out at the Tarandale, right? So Tarandale River, which is where Taran Ferry is. So
Correct.
it's the northern river, which they were protecting. They were trying to protect against the Trolloc hordes, and it was against insurmountable odds where they shouldn't have realistically lasted an hour. But they lasted not one, not two, not three, but they managed to last out for the 3 days, waiting for aid to come. And then it turned into 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, and so on, until they realised that they'd been betrayed. No
aid was not coming.
No aid was coming to Aemond. Unfortunately, he was left to himself. So he decided to send out the words to abandon the city. He crossed the Taran ferry and burnt the bridges, and then they started to retreat further into the 2 rivers. And yep, he ordered the people to flee. Trollocs crossed the river, and then shepherds, woodsmen, and women, they all decided to not flee and to pick up arms and join into the fight until the area where they now stand in Emond's Field was basically where they made their last stand against the Dark One's forces. So they had paid for this ground with their blood. And then the sword that cannot be broken shattered, as Moraine says. King Aemond died. Eldraine, who was up in the mountain city, which had been abandoned because every single person was gone to fight this battle, apart from her, apparently. I don't know why she was left behind. You think having a really powerful Aes Sedai might help. One little plot hole. She felt her husband died and exploded with the one power. And she basically destroyed all the heads and generals of the Dark One's army, which killing a Murdrel makes all the Trollocs in the fist go mental.
Yes.
So she just destroyed the head of the snake, and the whole army just completely collapsed and started running away in fear. And then some of the people who were left alive managed to hunt down the last of the Trollocs and kill them off. And then the rest that managed to escape were gradually hunted down by other kingdoms until there were none left. But Eldraine had used so much of the one power that she burnt down, taking the city, the old mountain city, which apparently is very beautiful, Mount Ephron, with her. So the people stayed at Emond's Field, knowing that they had paid for the price of the land with their blood. Oh man,
so much.
And now this is what's remains of Aemond's blood. Emond's Field and Senbui.
Senbui, the Congress of Goblins is what's the result.
But the blood sings in Emond's Field, and it's strong. It's strong with the boys as well.
Yes.
So, what did you guys think reading this? How did it make you feel?
Rich?
I mean, it was a pretty good story that they had when it happened back in the old days of why they're there. It puts in perspective.
Exactly. This tiny little village of scared people who just farm and make tobacco were once one of the most proud nations on the planet, as it were.
I will say this, though. This is the first time I read that chapter after reading the whole series. And there's a bit of that story you told, which is very similar to one of my favorite parts of Memory of Life, one of the two parts that actually brought me to tears. So hearing a very similar story told was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Book 1, book 14, we have a link. And I'm like, that just floored me. That was, I mean, I'm sorry, Rich, I'm not spoiling anything and I'm not going to spoil it, but parts of this story linked very closely with the final book. And that just absolutely floored me.
Yeah, this really brought out my emotions when I listened to this chapter for the first time again last week. when I've been going through it. Oh man, I was just like, I actually felt a little bit of a tear come to my eye. But when Moraine first started up, I was like, oh, this is where she gives that long bloody speech about where they came from. And I was kind of like really dismissive in my head about it. But then as it went on, because even Rand describes during the thing, like he says, like she started to talk, and I was just Rand said I was just engrossed, and it happened to me as well. I just became so engrossed in the telling of this story of Mount Ephron, and yeah, and the battle and everything. And I love the story of the 300 as well. It's one of like my favourite battles, and they pulled in from a lot of that, and it was just so good. It really brought a tear to my eye as she finished up her speech. Oh man, I just love this. This is what this book's about. There's about, because like I said, I'm getting towards the end of Eye of the World now. There's about 3 or 4 of these like tellings of the will, where someone pops up and tells the story about stuff that's happened in the past, and it's just such lovely world building. It's just and it was just so well written, and in the audiobook, yeah, it really brought out the emotion in me. Almost brought a tear to my eye. So the crowd decides to disperse at this point. They're just like, oh man, quick, let's go away before she gives us another history lesson.
Yeah, her story and maybe a little bit of magic, turn the crowd around and have them feel ashamed for their prior behavior.
Yeah, so screw this. God, it was so good. And then to finish up the chapter, our Jamaican friend Lan gathers up the boys.
Ha 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 ha.
Goes, here, man, let's get some beer. I can't stand my jizz. And then Rand reassures himself that he'll return to home one day. But for now, his adventure is really beginning.
It's time.
It's time, boys. Let's get on the road. And that's the end of the chapter, Tellings of the Wheel. I think so far, this is my favourite chapter in the book.
It's one of my, so far, yes, I'd have to agree with you. It's one of the top chapters.
Unless you listen to readings with Rob with the in the last episode at 2.5 speed, and that's my favourite bit of the book.
Can't let that go, can you?
No, I just did. Mate, I can't. Yeah, there we go. I just can't explain how much it made me laugh. Like, yeah, man. Yeah, man, you stupid sheep hugger. Okay. Well, speaking of readings with Rob, seems like a good segue. Yeah.
This week though, I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't bring myself to do the actual storytelling, so I took the part that led us up to it. So this is kind of Lan herding, part of the fun, herding Rand out and trying to gather him and Matt as see what's going on outside.
And now, the Ta'Veren present to you Readings with Rob.
There was a tap at the door, and Lan stuck his head into the room. "Say your goodbyes quickly, sheepherder, and come. There may be trouble." "Trouble?" Rand said, and the warder growled at him impatiently. "Just hurry!" Hastily, Rand snatched up his cloak. He started to undo the sword belt, but Tam spoke up. "Keep it. You will probably have more need of it than I, though the light willing neither of us will. Take care, lad. You hear?" Ignoring Lan's continued growls, Rand bent to grab Tam in a hug. "I will come back. I promise you that." "Of course you will." Tam laughed. He returned the hug weakly and ended by patting Rand on the back. "I know that, and I'll have twice as many sheep for you to tend when you return. Now go, before that fellow does himself an injury." Rand tried to hang back, tried to find the words for the questions he did not want to ask, but Lan entered the room to catch him by the arm and pull him into the hall. The warder had donned a dull gray tunic of overlapping metal scales. His voice rasped with irritation. "We have to hurry. Don't you understand the word trouble?" Outside the room, Matt waited, cloaked and coated and carrying his bow. A quiver hung at his waist. He was rocking anxiously on his heels, and he kept glancing off towards the stairs with what seemed to be equal parts impatience and fear. "This isn't much like the stories, Rand, is it?" he said hoarsely. "What kind of trouble?" Rand demanded, but the warder ran ahead of him instead of answering, taking the steps down 2 at a time. Matt dashed after him with quick gestures for Rand to follow. Shrugging into his cloak, he caught up to them downstairs. Only a feeble light filled the common room. Half the candles had burned out, and most of the rest were guttering. It was empty, except for the three of them. Matt stood next to one of the front windows, peeping out as if trying not to be seen. Lan held the door open a crack and peered into the inn-yard. Wondering what they could be watching, Rand went to join him. The warder muttered at him to take a care, but he did not open the door a trifle wider to make room for Rand to look too. At first he was not sure exactly what he was seeing. A crowd of village men, some 36 or so, clustered near the burned-out husk of the peddler's wagon. Night pushed back by torches some of them carried. Moiraine faced them, her back to the inn, leading with seeming casualness on her walking staff. Harry Copland stood in the front of the crowd with his brother, Darl and Billy Conger. Senbui was there as well, looking uncomfortable. Rand was startled to see Harry shake his fist at Moiraine. "Leave Emmons Field!" the sour-faced farmer shouted. A few voices in the crowd echoed him, but hesitantly, and no one pushed forward. They might be willing to confront an Aes Sedai from within a crowd, but none of them wanted to be singled out. Not by an Aes Sedai who had every reason to take offense.
That was Readings with Rob. If there's a passage in an upcoming chapter you wish to have read on the podcast, simply tweet us at TavirenPod with your request.
And that was Readings with Rob.
With our not Jamaican warder, Lan.
No. Now, hopefully, depending on my work schedule, I'll squeeze in at the end of the episode. I want to do a readings of the wheel or something along those lines. I'm going to read the story of Mount Ephraim. But it depends on my work schedule. If I'm slammed tomorrow, I won't have time to get it done before the episode comes out. So you may or may not at this moment in time be hearing readings from the wheel.
And if you didn't last time, Bill added a little, the last 15 seconds of our previous episode, little tidbit extra that he left for anybody who was brave enough to make it all the way through the end of our podcast.
Yeah, if I can find some little funny bits of audio, I'm going to tag them on to the very end of the episode, so after the credits have rolled, as it were. So we have our little skit where we spill some beer in the pub. And then we have the network outro bit. So once we've done that, there's going to be a little bit of audio just tagged on to the end, hopefully. I think I've got a good one for today.
I think we do too.
Sorry, Rich.
That's okay. I'm just here.
You're here. You're here to keep us warm and fuzzy.
I am.
being a furry man.
So next week we have the leave-taking chapter.
Well, next week is 10 and 11.
Oh, I'm sorry, leave-taking and the road to Terran Ferry.
Yes, let's not forget this, people. Next week we are reading 2 chapters from the Wheel of Time, chapters 10 and 11, because they're quite shortish. I want to say. Yeah, Leave Taking is 22 minutes long on the audiobook, and The Road to Taran Ferry, or the Tarandale River, is just under 20 minutes long. So together they make a 40 minutes section, which Tellings of the Wheel is 41 minutes, or 42 minutes. So we're going to squeeze those ones together. I think I'm going to try, and if we can, I'm going to give it like an hour, say an hour cutoff. Do you think, guys? So if chapters, if we squish 2 chapters together, and they come to less than an hour, we'll double up on those chapters.
Okay.
To try, just to try and.
You're the one with the audible time frame. So, like I said, I have the actual book. So you tell me something is. I'll tell you how many pages it is, but I can't tell you how many minutes it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
Because there's some chapters, like chapter 15 is an hour long. But then the chapter after that is, say, 25 minutes long. And so, yeah, I'll just try and combine as many chapters as I can so that we squeeze things together. But I don't want to, again, because when you get chapters like this one, Tellings of the Wheel, I don't want to be doing 3 chapters at once, because then we have to skim over an amazing story, an amazing plot point, which I really want to talk about. But yeah, this chapter was just the bollocks. I love this chapter. It was so good. So have you guys got anything else?
That's it for me.
I'm good.
Fun.
That's it for me as well. Right, whose round is it at the pub?
It's mine.
Oh, good.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm skinned. Cool.
We'll toast to Jack.
Yeah, we'll toast to Jack. And I spent all of my money on flour as well. So winter was shit, man. Like, flour's not cheap. That was supposed to be bread.
We haven't mentioned it before, guys. Rate and review the podcast. We'll take all criticism, positive, negative, neutral. We just want to make this the best possible, thing we can for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's it from us. Over and out, guys.
Take care, guys. We'll see you at the wine spring.
Yep, see you at the wine spring.
Bye.
Bye, Mom.
Thank you for listening. If you want to continue the conversation, tap into the One Power and contact us on Twitter at TavirenPod. You can also contact Bill at Matunica and Rich at HaleBlue1569. You can also reach Rob at his website, digging, D-I-G-G-I-N, diggingdeepsports.com. And, as always, we will see you at the Wine Spring Inn.
Here's to another great podcast, gentlemen. Cheers! Ah, damn it, Bill! Not again! Brad, can you get another round of pints for me and the boys? Yes, again. No, Bill this time. Thank you, Brad. Much appreciated. Now, where were we, men? Actually, I believe it's Rich's turn at the Stones table. What's that you say? No, I don't think old Sen will have that ready.
How's the what?
How's the wiener?
It's good.
Yeah, is it good?
It's good.
It's still running around.
Yep. He's asleep right now.
Oh, good. It's too early for your wiener.
Yep.
What'd you name your wiener?
Jack.
Oh, please tell me you're recording.
Yeah, of course I'm recording.
Please tell me you're recording that.
My name's Tyler, and I host the podcast Too Young for This Hit, where I watch movies I've never seen before with guests who love them. So what kind of movies do we watch? We watch mostly like classics movies, like
Escape from New York,
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure,
Alien,
Wayne's World, party time, excellent,
Aliens,
Smokey and the Bandits,
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
In addition to talking about movies, we also talk about cats. A lot. For pretty much no reason. You can find Too Young for This Hit and tons of other great podcasts at probablywork.com. This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
At Probably Work for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.